Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. You're watching another episode of Blank Canvas. Today we have John Smalls on. He's our very first sculptor. Say hello, John.
Hi, everybody.
And everyone, as always, whether this is your first time tuning in or you're a regular, let us know where you're watching from today. And also, any of the guys out there who are dads, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to everybody.
John, I have to say, you already have hearts coming through from the audience, so they clearly like what they're seeing. Can you talk to the audience a little bit about what you're working on today, obviously the medium that you're using?
Sure. This is what's considered oil-based clay. It goes by the name of either, I've seen two spellings of the names, plasticine or plastiline. I guess it depends on where you buy the clay from. Like if it's from America, it comes from overseas. But yeah, it's an oil-based clay that doesn't dry because they have several forms of clay. And some are air dry, some you have to bake in the oven. But this clay will never dry out, period. It might, like in winter, it might get pretty stiff, but all you have to do is throw it in the microwave, it'll soften up. In the summertime, it stays real smooth, great for modeling. And they use this clay, like for example, when I'm done with this piece, this clay is pretty solid, even though it's an oil base, it's pretty high quality. So I can use this clay as a mold.
Oh, great.
For a bigger piece, for a bigger sculpture.
Well, we already have plenty of, like I said, hearts and thumbs up coming through. You have Almarosa saying nice.
Hello, Almarosa.
And Magdalene. Magdalene, you always show up. I love this. She's a regular on Blank Canvas. She's watching from Singapore and she's saying hello.
Wow. Hello, Magdalene. Singapore. I want to go there one day.
We have Jackie saying that the sculpture is beautiful.
Thank you, Jackie. Yeah, it was a part of a bigger piece that I was working on, but I was having problems with proportion, so I just stuck with the head. And I think I started this a little while ago. You know, I always come back to it. It's just I haven't felt that I was done with it yet.
Yeah.
So I'm just still like working on it. And since today is Father's Day, you know, I find it fitting to show on today's show, you know, because the piece came about because of fathers. I'm doing a whole painting series on just men in general, because I don't feel like a lot of fathers aren't given a good light.
Okay.
So this piece was a part of that, just to show, like, not to say like fathers or mothers or either one is better than the other. It's just like a lot of times I think single fathers in particular get a bad rap. So this is like I'm biased. I have a lot of friends that are single fathers. So that's where the idea for this piece came from, along with the paintings that I'm working on. Long story short.
Copy that.
But I like working with clay. Clay is, I did take one class, but prior to taking that class, nobody ever taught me how to work with clay. It was just something that I was drawing one day, and I was doing a series on this character I had. It was a Ganesh, and I don't know, I just wanted to do something more than just drawing or painting. And I know a little bit of 3D animation, but I don't know. Something just told me to go to the store and pick up some clay, and that's what I did.
John, keep working, but our mics are down right now because they're gonna fix it. So for everyone who's just tuning in, our artist today is John Smalls. You can actually follow him on his Instagram page to see the rest of his work. That'll pop up periodically throughout the show. And you can ask him about any other pieces he has on there. And do you ever take commission work?
Always.
Oh, I like it. You like to make money. Good.
Exactly. Full-time artist.
And I know we spoke about this beforehand for anyone who might have missed it, about the piece that you're working on today. It's almost like a tribute to fatherhood.
Yes.
And I really enjoy this. And I know you said you've been working on this piece for quite a while.
Yeah, off and on. I started a few months back, took a break. Now I'm coming back to it. It's just been, I don't know, I'm just not happy with it, so I'm just gonna keep working on it until I'm done. But at the same time, I'm working on this piece. It's gonna get me in the mood to make more sculptures. Like with this clay, I don't have to worry about it drying out. So I can easily start with this and then move on to something else and then come back to this. But as long as I have a stopping point, I can always take a nice pause.
I like that. We have Lori who's saying awesome, and she may have missed it before. What clay are you using again?
This is a plastiline clay, oil-based clay. You can find it at mostly any art store, craft store.
We have actually another John in the comments who would like to know, how did you get started with sculpting? Is it a natural talent or did you go to school?
John, that's a good question. I would say I got started with sculpting out of curiosity.
Oh.
Yeah, it was I'm an artist, a full-time artist. I do all types of work, and just like with painting or drawing, I wanted to experiment with something else, and I just picked up sculpting. It just came to me one day, and picked up a few books on Amazon or online, and I ran with it from there. I took a class. It wasn't the best class to take, but it taught me how to use some of these tools that I have.
Got it. And what are some of the tools that you have to use when sculpting?
Well, these are actually dentist tools. When it comes to sculpting, you can go two routes. Some people use the classic tools, from Michelangelo days or Renaissance days, because those are still available. You can buy those. I just choose to use things that help me engrave. Since I'm not a traditional artist, I'm not like a classically trained artist. I don't believe in the tool is what makes you great. It's how you use what you have. So, for example, when I took the art class, right, and I was learning about sculpting, they had a list of supplies for me to get, and the supplies was like $15 a pop for each tool, for each one of these tools. It was like $15. So instead of doing that, I figure out another way, and I'm like, okay, well, I see the same exact tools online that the dentist use, and they're the same exact thing, so I buy those for $10. So I got 20 tools for $20 rather than one tool for $5. You just find a way to make it work. Because some people believe in technique and it has to be like this and it has to be like that. I just feel like when it comes to art, you just got to create what's genuine to you, however you can. If I do something one way in this video, it might not work for somebody else. If they want to pick up clay, then they'll have to learn to experiment and study their own way. That's the beauty. That's
very well put together.
Yeah, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of art. You just got to find your own way to express it. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Anybody who tells you there's a right or wrong way to do something with art, it's like they're a horrible teacher. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Take a look at art history.
Very true.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of comments coming through. A lot of people are saying such talent, lovely work, amazing.
Thank you.
We agree. Vishal says this is really awesome. And we have Shell saying hello, watching you from the Philippines.
Hello, Vishal.
Yes. And Shell.
Shell. Thank you for joining the show.
Yes, thank you. And we have Ubaldo who says you have a great gift and God bless you with it.
Thank you, Ubaldo. That statement right there, that's one of the reasons why I choose the subject matters that I do. It's I can I don't know, like I could do a lot of things with art, you know, but I don't know. I just choose to make things that kind of have an impression on people.
Yeah.
That will leave something. Like when they look at it, they'll say like, oh, okay. It makes them think for a second rather than just looking at it and say, oh, okay, that's a cool picture of something. You know, just like, I don't know. I just want people to ask questions like, okay, why is he doing that? Or not like something so abrupt, but just something to take for a second. You're like, okay, that's pretty and I like it, but why?
We have Julian in the comments. He's on your Instagram page.
Uh-oh.
And he wants to know, especially, well, he has seen some of the pieces that you're working on and what you're working on now.
Okay.
The facial features for the sculpture that you're working on, is this based on anyone that you know?
Nah, nobody. It's kind of like, I mean, I guess I use myself as the model, you know, my facial features, but it's not supposed to be me or anybody. It's just supposed to be like a generic man, you know, a black man.
Okay.
And I just ran with it from there, like put a goatee, put the eyebrows, and then at the end, it's funny, when I started a while ago, I had a different hairstyle, and now I put the locks on them. You know, I just thought like, because since this is the idea of this piece was coming from single fathers, there's a lot of young single fathers out there, and I figured like when I see the young guys, this is one of the hairstyles that I always see them with. You know, they got the fade, but they also have the locks on top. I don't know, I thought that was cool, just to represent like for the young generation of single fathers out there. It shouldn't be, but you know, just something for them. Because I don't think an older person would have like this hairstyle.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah, that's true. You never know.
It's 2017.
Yeah, this is New York, so.
Yes. Well, speaking about where people are watching from, we have JC who's watching from Tennessee.
Wow.
And we have a lot of people coming in from the Philippines today and Malaysia.
Nice.
I love this. We have Brenda who's saying, this is beautiful.
Hello, Brenda.
And Darlene saying, so talented. I love art in many forms. Thank you for sharing from Central Valley, California.
Thank you, darling.
We have Renee saying, I wish I could do this.
Just practice.
Yes, practice makes perfect.
Oh.
Renee, you can.
To learn art, all it is just repetition. Nothing more.
We have Patricia saying, this is a beautiful job, looks great.
Thank you, Patricia.
And Jean saying hello from the UK.
Hey, what's up? I was just there.
Oh, were you?
I love London.
Just a regular trip, or was it for art?
Nah, I was just traveling around Europe, and my second to last day, I went to, the end of the trip, I would say. I was in London, and I love that city. Want to go back. I went to Venice, Berlin, London, and then back to Germany.
That's pretty cool. I like that. Well, Margaret said that's cool. And actually, Nancy has a good question.
What's up?
What colors, if any, can be used to paint on clay?
On this clay, you can't because it's an oil-based clay.
Got it.
So this, it will mess up. However, when I use air dry clay, which is like my previous sculptures, that clay is solid. So it's like it's kind of like a stone.
Okay.
Like a rock, right? It dries out, and you can put acrylic paint on that. And I've done that to my previous sculptures just so they won't. It looks a lot cleaner when I display them.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll use like spray paint or acrylic paint. So in this piece, I'm just pretty much like touching up some of the details that messed up in transportation and stuff that I didn't get to finish.
Yes.
I always notice like doing the eyes it's always a trick on sculptures. I've seen some people with methods, but that's something I still have to work on and improve on. But for the most part, like you see the facial features, like the little rough areas for the eyebrows and the hair. I try to like use like it's like a pick, and I just take and then like, not like to create texture, it kind of like you have to scrape at the clay. So even though this is a soft clay, it still gives that impression of hair.
Yeah.
Rather than like the hair up here is like, it's more solid. It looks a little different. But this looks a little coarse, a little bushier. gives a different effect. Here's another thing that I can share with people. The eyes.
Yeah.
So inside the eyes, I learned this trick. This guy told me that he's like, the deeper the eye, the darker the, like, you're basically creating a hole inside the eye, right? So the deeper the hole, the darker the eye will be. So since this is a black male, African American male, I want to make the hole pretty deep, so then it has that effect of a dark brown eye if it was a realistic
Got
person.
it.
Yeah, just a little tidbit.
I like that. For all the people out there who may be sculptors themselves or thinking about getting into sculpting, I think that's a really good piece of advice.
Yeah, it's easy to remember.
So guys, we have to take a quick break, but we'll be right back. And we're back, and you're still watching Blank Canvas on this lovely Sunday. And our artist, our sculptor, who's also, you know, I feel like I want to give you the right title, but this
Artist.
is John Smalls. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because I know you paint as well, correct?
Yes, correct.
And sketch, because I know you've used charcoal.
Yeah, I'm a designer, 9 to 5, graphic design, illustration. I paint, I do murals, illustrations, I sketch on a regular. I'm an artist 100%. You know, that's what I've dedicated my life to. So there's not really a title that I go by. I guess visual artist is more accurate, but you could just call me an artist. Matter of fact, I like when people say that, especially people that don't know me. You know, me when they're like, "You look like an artist." I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I like it. You know, it just fits. I'm rambling.
Oh, we have Kimberly saying this is true art.
Thank you.
And Nancy saying, love this talent no matter what it is.
Okay. That's funny. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody want to know anything about sculpting in general?
Not just yet, but I'm sure they're going to throw that out there.
Okay.
They're actually really entranced by what you've got going on right now.
Should I spin it around?
Yeah, why don't you show the detail, like what you've got going on?
Okay.
So that's totally fine, yeah. So people can see what's happening here. And I know you said you've been working on this piece for a while.
Yeah.
But how long would this normally take you if you didn't really like put it down or?
This right here, I think it'll take me like maybe 8 hours.
Okay.
You know, like I put it down, went back to it. I remember when I first started working on it, I did so much in like a six hour period because I didn't stop. I was in the zone, and then took some breaks, came back, and then once I got to a point, I was like, okay, there's nothing else I need to build on the actual sculpture. It was time to refine and bring it to life. Like once you have the shape, that's when you start working on the eyes and the nose and the hair and the ears and all that. It's the minor details that you start focusing on at that point. And that could take forever. That could take a long time. It's like with art, if something doesn't look right, it'll just look off. And you gotta figure out, sometimes it's proportions, sometimes it's just, like right now it's the ear, it just doesn't look right. So I gotta mess with it until like visually, I'm like, okay.
So if you're working on the ear right now, say you can actually put that more towards the camera so they can see what you're working on.
Is this good?
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, we have Carly and Naomi saying wow, and Luann saying love this.
Thank you, Luann. Thank you, Carly.
And we have Joe who wants to know, are you able to sculpt an eagle? So basically, do you only sculpt people, or do you ever sculpt animals, or?
Well, technically I made a Medusa one time. That was pretty cool. It was like the snakes on her head.
Yes.
I like doing that, but no, I don't think I would jump into animals. At this point, maybe like later on in life.
Okay.
Like I like fantasy art, you know, science fiction and all that. So I'm pretty sure I'll do like characters, but I don't know. Not at this point. At this point, I'll just stick to like people and figures.
I think everybody in the comments is pretty cool with that right now because they like what you've got going on. So for anyone who's just tuning in, our artist today is John Smalls. You can follow him on his Instagram page and check out the rest of his work. He doesn't only sculpt, he's a true artist. He sketches, he paints, he does it all. So make sure that you check out the rest of his work. And if you have any questions or you want to commission him for a piece, he's very open to that.
Always open to commissions.
Yes.
Shipping worldwide.
And for anyone who may just be joining us today for the first time ever for Blank Canvas, or you're a regular, we are here every Saturday and Sunday. So if you want to catch any previous episodes of Blank Canvas, you can always go to littlethingscom/live, and you can click on the drop down box and click on Blank Canvas, and you can see all of our previous episodes. We have some pretty cool artists on there. And obviously we have some really great shows at Little Things, so feel free to watch the other shows as well. But John, for everyone
Yes.
who's probably just coming in now and seeing what you're working on, can you talk to us again about what inspired this piece?
Yes. Well, this piece was inspired by just fathers and single fathers that I know and people that I come across just living my life. I heard a lot of stories and about like child support and court and custody. I don't have any children myself, but just hearing like these stories all over and over again from like good men, I consider them good men. I just decided to just do a collection of art dedicated to them, and this is the first sculpture in that series that I've been working on.
We have John saying awesome talent,
Thank you, John.
and we have Kathleen saying hello from Arizona.
Wow. Hello, Kathleen. It's hot out there.
Yes. And Nelson says this is excellent stuff, and this is highly inspirational, and thank you for sharing.
No, thank you, Nelson.
So Nathan says, if this has taken you a long time, doesn't the clay dry out? And if that's the case, how do you keep it from not drying out?
Well, that's a good question. Well, this clay doesn't dry out. This is an oil-based clay. There are other clays that dry out, like the air dry clay. And one method when I work with those is you can just simply spray water on it. But since this is an oil-based clay, I never have to worry about that. As I'm working, you see me like carving into it. I can rub it over, carve into it again, and it'll be like that for years. This clay will never dry out under any type of weather. It's actually the hotter it is outside, or the temperature, the smoother the clay will be. So, this clay is good for sculpting, especially for practice. Like if you don't want to do a permanent piece and you just want to experiment with a project, you should get like plastiline or oil-based clay, because you can always build something and then take it apart. One thing I do have to mention, I wasn't able to show it because this piece was already in progress, but there's metal wire going through this piece, going through the sculpture. It's called an armature. So if anybody's interested in clay, you definitely have to build an armature. Think of it like a skeleton, because without that, this piece wouldn't be, especially his head, it wouldn't stay here the way it is. I wish I would have brought one just so everybody could see what I'm talking about. But yeah, but it's like wire that I have underneath here, and wire like this is going all through the sculpture itself. And most times when you go into an art museum, you might see like a broken sculpture from like the Rome era, or ancient Greece, and it'll have like an iron core, and that's because a lot of them have like rods going all through the pieces. We just don't see it from the outside, unless they make a mold, and that's a whole nother topic.
We have Marshall, who wants to know, he's on your Instagram page as well.
Okay.
And wants to know about the gold pieces.
Oh, yes.
Sculptures.
Yeah.
How that came about and what that was based on.
Okay, so I have two pieces on my Instagram page. I'm not sure which ones he's looking at, but one is it's a guy who's like, he's pretty much like a senior citizen. That's actually me, I would hope to be, like in like the future. But he's also
the man who's putting with his arm up?
Yeah,
Okay.
but see, I'm a martial artist. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've been doing Jiu-Jitsu for almost a decade. So that piece is like it's how I want to be as an older fella. I want to be an old, still be able to compete in tournaments, still healthy, still full of muscles, raising my hand in the air like a champion. So that's why I made that piece.
Oh, love it.
And I just painted it gold because I thought gold would look cool like a trophy.
Very nice.
And then I think the other one is the Medusa one. It's also gold.
Yes. So what type of clay did you use for that? Since for the oil one you can't paint.
Yeah, those are both air dry clay, or I guess what was the proper term? Yeah, I guess it's just air dry clay. Those are the best pieces if you want to paint something. Like a lot of people use that type of clay for pottery. Like if you want to make ceramics, cups, little toys, you can use air dry clay for that. It's the same process as this. You just have to wet it and keep it like liquidy, fluid every now and then.
So Kimberly wants to know, so would this clay melt in hot weather since it stays wet?
Yeah. if it's like really hot outside, this clay, it won't melt, but it'll be like real, like like smooth, you know? Like sometimes when I'm working on clay, I have to throw it in the oven or the microwave, not to dry it, but to soften it up a bit.
Oh.
Because like, let's say if it's cold outside, this clay, it's a oil-based clay, so it will just like solidify, right? Like just like with oil, you know, when you have like extra cooking oil, it'll what's the word, condense? So when this clay is like that and it's hard for me to like to push it and pull it and all this stuff, I just heat it up a little bit. It smooths out and then I can just start working with it again. So the temperature plays a factor as well. It's not a major factor, but it can play a factor in it. Like in the winter is definitely hard to sculpt, but it's not impossible.
Well, Francine wants to know, how long have you been sculpting and are you working from a picture?
I'm not working from a picture. I should be, you know. I actually had reference for the muscle structure, but I didn't bring one today. I don't know why. I think it's on my desk. But I've been sculpting, I want to say 2 years now. I picked it up and I don't know, it's becoming one of my main art forms at the moment, you know. I like it. I just get into the zone, and there's something about working with clay that I find therapeutic, a little bit more than painting. And I think that's because I'm using my hands, like literally using my hands on the piece, and I'm shaping and I'm molding the piece. I don't know, there's just something that puts me in this Zen type of mood when I'm sculpting, and I've been hooked on it.
Kimberly says, the eyes are fascinating me.
Oh, thank you.
And Margaret says, this must be relaxing for you.
Very, very relaxing. Like I get into a zone whenever I make art, you know. I get into my little, I don't know how to call it, my head space, or my Zen element. But there's just something about clay that just takes me to another chamber, you know. I just go into another realm, and I don't know, can't explain it. It's like this feeling that I have when I'm creating. Like when I'm painting, it's one thing. When I'm drawing, I get into another mood, and then when I'm sculpting, it just takes me somewhere else.
We have Sally saying, I took a night course in sculpture, always loved it since I was a child, but not as good as him.
Ha! Practice.
Practice makes perfect,
That's all
he
it
said.
is.
Yes. Sally, you could be just as good or better, I'm sure.
Yes, and don't compare yourself to others.
Yes.
Just create. That's one of the things that artists, and I think most artists do, is like we compare ourselves to like other people. You know, oh, they're working, they're doing this, or they're doing that, or their piece looks like this, and mine looks like this, and it's like, just create.
Yeah.
Because nobody likes their work after a year or two. You know, I don't like anything I did last year, but I did it.
We have Adriana saying, great job, and saying hello from Dallas, Texas.
Hey, what's up, Texas?
We have Teddy who's saying this is awesome.
Thank you, Teddy.
Carmen says this is awesome as well.
I appreciate all the feedback.
Francine wants to know, when you're done, how do you preserve the piece?
This piece, because it's an oil-based clay, there's no real way to preserve it. You know, it's kind of temporary. unless I was to create a mold, which is something I'm contemplating. I have to look into that a little bit more. I took a class a few months ago, and it opened me up to a lot of different options I have with preserving clay. And one of those options was to create like either a plaster mold, a bronze mold, and this size is pretty small, so the mold it wouldn't take up any room at all. But you know, it's a different process that I have to research about before I jump into it.
So for everyone who's watching, we have to take a quick break, but we'll be right back. And we're back. You're watching Blank Canvas. Our artist today is John Smalls, and you can follow him on Instagram and see the rest of his work. He not only sculpts, but he paints as well, and he sketches, so make sure that you show him some love on his page, and if you have any questions about any of the work, you can always send him a message. And he is open to commission, so getting commission pieces, making some commission pieces. So if you'd like to see anything made, contact him. Oh, we have Daryl who wants to know, do you have a favorite artist?
Oh man, what subject?
I guess go with the flow. So if you have a painter, and maybe if there's an artist that you like who sculpts.
I would say, in general, I'm a huge fan of Da Vinci.
Oh.
But not for his painting. Like I'm not a fan of his painting, but as an artist and a thinker and a creator, he was the man, because he just did it all without anyone telling him, without a college degree or going to a special school. He just was like, I want to learn this, I'm going to study it, I'm going to obsess over it, then move on to the next thing. So he's like the number one guy. And then for sculptures, there's a guy I really appreciate, Bernini. I don't know his first name offhand, but I just know him as Bernini. Italian sculptor, and his work is, oh man, he was working with marble, and I have no idea some of his techniques, because he'll have like a piece, and it'll be like, oh, it'll be somebody's head, and then he'll have like a piece of cloth, right? And it's fine, you'll see cloth on sculptures all the time, but somehow this cat has found a way to make that cloth look like it's invisible on the marble. And I'm like, how in the world did you do that? Because it's not invisible, it's solid. But the way he had his technique of just going at the marble, making, it's fascinating, you know? So he's like the number one guy when it comes to sculptures. I would love to be at his level one day. Because he didn't follow what everybody else was doing. He's like, I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna create my way, which is what I've always said about art. It's like, you gotta find your way of making your art, and that's how you develop your own unique style.
Well, we have a few people in the comments who are saying, we believe you're referring to Gian Lorenzo Bernini.
Yes, that's his name. Yes. He is the man. He's my favorite sculptor. And some people say Michelangelo, and I'm like, nah, man, Bernini's the man.
Well, we have Roxy saying this is great.
Thank you, Roxy.
We have Mary saying, wish I had the patience to do something like this. I get bored very easily, so it probably end up being destroyed, LOL.
I've destroyed tons of my work, you know. But the thing is, just keep creating work. You know, if you get bored, then find something that keeps you interested.
And for everyone in the comments who they're asking if he does take orders or commission work, yes, he does. So if you want to get in touch with John, you can also visit his Instagram page, look at the rest of his work so you can figure out if there's a piece on there that he maybe has already created and you want recreated in some way, or you just want him to do an original piece. You can contact him. So his Instagram page will pop up periodically throughout the show, and you can get in contact with him that way. And if you're brand new to the show, to Blank Canvas, you can catch up on past episodes by visiting littlethings.com/live. If you click down, you can see Blank Canvas and all of our previous episodes. Check out the rest of our artists, but also feel free to check out the rest of the shows on Little Things that are available there as well. We have Craig who wants to know, do you feel that with sculpting and different, with various amounts of clay that's available to you, do you feel like it's an expensive task?
That's up to you. That's up to the individual. You know, I look at clay like each project. I don't buy a bunch of clay just to have it stored in my apartment, in my workspace. I buy it for like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this head. How many blocks of clay will I need? That'll be about maybe 20, 30 bucks. You know, let's say like each block of clay is like $10. It could be cheaper, I'm just throwing out a number. So I look at it like that, like, okay, well, this project's gonna cost me 30 bucks, then plus the little piece of wood. And that's how I go about it. So if you do it that way, it's not expensive. Because think about it, that's like how many meals, how much fast food is that? How much you're spending on dinner, you know, clothes. When I buy art supplies, I try to buy stuff that I know I'm gonna use, rather than like just have paints and clay just left over sitting around. Unless it's on a sale. Then if you go to a store and something's on sale, then you stock up and get as much as you can, because that's different. But no, art, it's what you make it. You know, if you wanna go out there and buy like all the expensive products and all the name brand stuff, cool, buy it. It's not gonna make you a better artist. It's not gonna make your piece any better either. You know, just buy what you can afford. Use what you can to get what you want. You know? Like I have to keep turning it around just to make the ears like proportion, and this one is definitely a lot smaller. So that's one thing about clay. You know, you always have to go back and forth. You could be working on one side and be like, oh, this side looks great, and then you go over here and you're like, what did I just do? You know, so you always have to, because you have to keep it, even though you can exaggerate on features. It's a three-dimensional object, so you have to keep some type of realistic perspective on it, or else it'll just look like wonky. Like this looks weird right now because he has like such a tiny ear. So that's what this jar is. It's just extra clay. You know, I brung some, and just all you gotta do is like tear off a little piece and pop it on. You know, mold it a little bit, let it sit there for a second. You know, it'll adjust itself. That's another thing about clay. You can't force it. You know, you gotta let it. You just gotta let it. Everything will come together. You know, you work on one side, switch, go to another side, work on something else, come back, and you're like, oh, it's all like, it just flows together somehow. I don't know. Maybe it's the chemical makeup of the clay. I just found that things work a lot better when I leave them alone after a while. Like beating on a project over and over again, it's not gonna make it any better. So clay forces me to like take a break, rather than me force the clay to work. It's like, okay, let it settle for a while, let it just adjust, and then move on to something else.
Well, we have Susie saying this looks very realistic.
Thank you, Susie.
Mary Lou saying good work.
Thank you.
And Christine saying awesome.
Thank you, Christine.
Well, we have Margaret who has a question. She says, have you ever been to the Garner Museum in Boston? There's all art from the masters there.
I've been to Boston a couple times. I'm not sure if I went to that museum. I know I was there a couple years ago. Can't recall what museum I went to. I know they have great seafood. Yes.
And we did have a few people in the comments who wanted to know, do you ever name your sculptures?
Yeah, of course.
So does this have a name yet?
No, because it's unfinished, that's why. So it's no name. I'm pretty sure once I get to a point where I feel, even though it's just a bust, once I feel it's good, then I'll probably give it like a permanent name, like, okay, this is this piece. But this piece actually will probably be a part of a bigger piece, because I want to continue it. I'll probably make another one, and this will just be like my first model. Like that's another thing about sculptures. Like say for example Rodin. You know, everybody knows Rodin. He's the thinking man. There's a million of those all over the place. You know, and it's not that there's a million different knockoffs or copies. It's because Rodin was such a great sculpture artist that he did all types of just mock-ups pretty much of models. He was like, okay, well, you see the big piece of the thinking man, but that big piece of the thinking man that he made was like this big on top of a door, the gates of hell, you know. And I saw the gates of hell before. It's like that door is amazing, but he made like all these gigantic sculptures over and over and over again, just to fill up this one door that he had. So it's like a lot of sculpture artists, they'll make piece after piece after piece. Most people won't see those copies. And that's why the museums, a lot of times you'll see the same sculptures over and over again. You're like, well, I saw this in Philly, or I saw this in New York, or I saw it in Boston. It's like, yeah, because the guy has like hundreds. It's just sitting in the studio.
Mary says this is very interesting.
Thank you, Mary.
And we have a few people saying, what part of the body do you think is most difficult to work on?
I would say the head. Like my last few pieces, like the ones on my Instagram page, I did a few pieces. I have I don't know if they saw it, but there's a black sculpture, a big guy with a machete. That's pretty good. It's pretty good size. I have the gold sculpture, as we talked about, the martial artist, and all of those were full body. So the details on the head, it was very minimal, you know, due to the size of the sculpture. But since this one, I aimed pretty high, and this is a big head, so all my time so far is just spent on this. And at one point I started the body, but the head just wasn't right for the body, so I always kept going back to the head, and it kind of slowed down my progress. So I feel like the head is the most important part, because once you get the proportions right on that, then the rest will fall in line. And that's just something I had to learn as I experimented with clay. I didn't know that going into it, or I probably would have made this head a lot smaller so I can make the body, you know. It's just a lesson. It's a part of the process.
Oh, Margaret said, when you do go back to Boston,
Yes.
the Garner is behind the art museum on the Green Line.
Okay.
So she's giving you some pointers there.
All right.
So I guess she's saying go back to Boston sometime soon. She wants you to see this.
I gotta remember that.
Robert says, from the side, it favors Conor McGregor, but looks awesome all the way around.
Okay.
Cindy is saying hello from Taiwan.
Hey, hello, Cindy.
And Jack wants to know, what do you imagine your sculptures are looking at?
Well, this one,
Yeah.
I imagine him looking at a child.
Got it.
So the idea is the father will be sitting, and in his arms will be wrapped to the child's arms, so kind of like a big circle between the father and the child, whether it's a boy or a girl. And it'll be like a big circle, but the circle will just be their arms. So I can bend him to look down, I can bend him to look up. I just haven't decided that right now. But when I was messing with this, I'd rather have him looking up than looking down at nothing, you know. That's another thing about clay, with oil-based clay. It's very easy to adjust. So if I were using air dry clay and it would start to getting stiff, and let's say I had to adjust the piece, it would be very difficult to move and reposition. But because I have the wires built in, as I mentioned, there's metal wires going throughout this piece. That helps me move it and adjust it, and then the clay is oil-based, so I can easily move things, turn things, adjust things as I go. And if there's a crack that comes up because I adjust it, that's fine. It's oil-based, so I can just easily smooth it out again. It's not a big deal. You can make mistakes on this. It's very playful, so you're not stuck to okay, I made this now, I can't move it. No, you made this, you can change it to something else. You know, you can make the hair turn into whatever you want. I can cut off the hair. I can have him bald. You know, with oil-based clay, you have a lot of room to create whatever you feel.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, we have EQ watching from Indonesia.
Wow. What's up, EQ?
Wow. And for everyone who is just tuning in, today's artist is John Smalls. You can follow him on Instagram and see the rest of his work and contact him. We are unfortunately out of time today. John, thank you so much for coming on. You are the very first person that has come on and sculpted something for us, so this was really a treat for us. And thank you to everyone who watched today, whether you watch every weekend or today was your first time. We really appreciate it. We're here every Saturday and Sunday, Saturdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time and Sundays at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope that you all have a happy Sunday, and as I said earlier in the show, if you're a dad, happy Father's Day. And thank you so much for watching.
Thank
Until
you,
next
everybody.
time. Bye.